Hey guys, welcome to computerlabspace YouTube channel. In the last video, we have discussed the requirement of the program 8 from the part B. Okay, in this video, we will discuss on the AIDL service concept. Before going through this actual implementation of this EMI calculator program, we will have to first understand AIDL service. Otherwise, we cannot implement this program. Okay. I'll try to explain this AIDL service on a high level. If you want, you can go through the Android documentation. It's a vast subject. Okay, there are couple of things to understand that will take lot of time. Now, if we talk about AIDL, first we have to understand what is the full form of AIDL. Okay, it's a Android interface definition language. Okay, next, here we can see we have this interface definition language. Okay, we will first understand what is this interface definition language. Then we will move into Android interface definition language. Interface definition language is a generic term for a language that provides facility to a program written in one language communicate with another program written in another language. That means we have a program 1 written in Java. Okay, next we have a program 2 written in .NET. Now we have to establish the communication between the program 1 and program 2. This interface definition language will help us to communicate between these two programs. Okay, program 1 with Java program 2 written in .NET. Okay, altogether a different language programs. Now this interface definition language generally used in IDL, generally used in RPC. RPC is nothing but a remote procedure call. Okay, so I'll not go deep into this RPC. On a high level, RPC is in general, if we see this name itself, we can say in a remote there will be a procedure in a remote place. Client will call that procedure. Okay, client will call that procedure, and remote server will respond with the actual response. That's it, guys. On a high level, RPC is nothing but there will be a procedure in a remote place that client will be calling that procedure. That's it. Uh, uh, it will be something like a request response protocol. Client will send a message to the server to call the specified procedure, and server will respond with a response. Okay, that's it. This AIDL also similar to IDL, what we have discussed above. Okay, AIDL is nothing but Android interface definition language. In simple, Android interface definition language is a AIDL is a interface in Android. It is just an interface, guys, nothing else. Okay, when you create AIDL in an Android Studio, it will create an interface. That's it, nothing else. So what this will do is that it will establish the communication between the software, two different software components which written in two different languages. Okay, for example, I have explained here, we will be having this AIDL. We can call this as an AIDL. Okay, Android interface definition language. We have AIDL here. We have AIDL here. Okay, and we have to this AIDL present in one application, and we have to access this from another application to establish the communication. We need this AIDL. This Android will help us to communicate between the two applications. Okay, uh, in Android, in Android, each applications runs in its own process. Okay, this is one application, it will run its own process, and this is another application and it's a separate process. There is no link between these two processes. Because of this, we cannot access another application memory space from because of this application cannot access another application memory space. Okay, what we call this is application sandboxing. Application sandboxing. So in general, application sandboxing is isolating the apps from each other. Means we in general in a system, these two applications are isolated. Okay, and application sandboxing protect apps and system from malicious apps. Okay, so why it is isolated is to protect from the malicious things. Okay, so we saw this application sandboxing. So in order to allow cross application communication, Android provides an implementation. Okay, now cross application communication. Cross application communication is communication between two applications. That is, application 1 is trying to access the application 2. Okay, this Android provides an implementation of inter-process communication. Two application runs in a different process. To establish the communication between those two processes, Android provides an inter-process communication IPC protocol. Okay, this IPC protocol is a complicated because of all these marshalling, unmarshalling of data. Why do we need marshalling, unmarshalling? Because the one process has to communicate with another process, means there will be a data, right? There will be a separate kind of communication. That is not a straightforward communication. So we don't know those two processes are we know those two processes are different. Okay, so for that, internally, when we pass some data from process 1 to process 2, those data has to marshal, and in the process 2 those data should get unmarshaled. So couple of internal architectures will be there. So for that we need this marshalling and unmarshalling. Okay, so generally this marshalling and unmarshalling is very complicated process. Okay, so we cannot, so we can write, but it is a tedious process. That's why Android introduced with AIDL. This AIDL will help us in this marshalling and unmarshalling of data. It will be actually eliminate the boilerplate code. Okay, it is a lightweight implementation of IPC. Lightweight implementation of the IPC, inter-process communication. This has this syntax very familiar to Java programmers or Java developers. Okay, and AIDL is a tool. This is a tool. This is tool that automates the stub creation. Android introduced with AIDL. AIDL is a lightweight implementation of the IPC. AIDL has the syntax very familiar to Java developers, and AIDL is tool that automates the stub creation. We will see what is this stub and all those stuff when we jump into implementation stage. In order to allow for one application to call into another application, we typically have to have uh, these below steps. In order to allow communication between two Android applications, we typically have to define AIDL. Okay, next create a remote service. Next implement this stub for the remote service. Then fourth one is expose the remote service into client. If we don't expose, we cannot access those services. Okay, so we have to expose what we have the service in the remote. Next we will see when to use AIDL. First thing is, suppose clients from different applications want to access your service of inter-process communication. Clients from different applications want to access your service for inter-process communication. Then we choose AIDL. Next, your service wants to handle multi-threading. Then we choose AIDL. Suppose, so you have a service. In that service you will have a method. That method will be called in a multiple applications at the same time. Here if you see, we have these two applications. Application 1 as a Car EMI calculator, application 2 as a Home EMI calculator. Okay, both these applications trying to use the Android service app or EMI calculator service app at the same time. So in that case also we'll go with AIDL. Next is, third one is, if you want to share the data and control something in another application. If you want to share the data between two applications. Then we choose AIDL. Fourth one is you want to create some new functionalities and distribute them as a library. You want to create a new functionalities as a reusable component, reusable service, and distribute them as a library. Then also we will go with the AIDL. Okay, on a high level we understood AIDL. Okay, I'll repeat one more time because as a beginner, as a new starter, it's very difficult to understand. Okay, so just understand on a high level for this program 8. AIDL is nothing but Android interface definition language. Okay, it is before understanding this Android interface definition language, we will first understand Android interface definition language. Interface definition language is generic term for a language that provides facility to a program written in one language communicate with another program written in another language. Okay, IDLs are commonly used in RPC, remote procedure call. So remote procedure call is a request response protocol, and RPC is initiated by the client, which sends a request message to a known remote server to execute a specified procedure with supplied parameters. That remote server sends a response to the client. Okay, the Android interface definition language is similar to IDLs. It enables communication between the two different software components which are written in two different languages. Each application in Android, okay, each application in Android runs in its own process. An application cannot directly access another application's memory space. So this is called application sandboxing. Okay, application sandboxing means isolating the apps from each other and protects apps and system from malicious apps. In order to allow cross application communication, Android provides an implementation of inter-process communication. Okay, inter-process communication. This inter-process communication protocol is complicated because of all the marshalling and unmarshalling. Marshalling and unmarshalling data. Marshalling and unmarshalling data is tedious process to do manually. Okay. To help with this, Android provides AIDL. Android introduced with AIDL. It is a lightweight implementation of the IPC, inter-process communication, and it has the syntax very familiar to Java developers, and AIDL is a tool that automates the stub creation. In order to allow communication between two Android applications, we typically have to define AIDL, create a service, remote service, implement the stub for the remote service, and expose that service to the client. Okay, done. Next, when to use AIDL? When are we going to use this, or when do you choose AIDL? Okay, framework. Client from different application want to access your service for inter-process communication, then we choose AIDL. Suppose your service wants to handle multi-threading, then we choose AIDL. Multi-threading I have explained. Okay, if you want to, means multi-threading explained in the sense how multi-threading come into picture. In this picture we have seen two different applications trying to access the same service at the same time. If you want to share the data between two applications, then we choose AIDL. Suppose you want to create a new functionality as a reusable service and distribute them as a library, then also we go with AIDL. Okay, hope you are getting. Try to understand, guys. So when we jump into actual implementation, we'll get a more idea on implementation of the AIDL. Okay, so I know, so this is very difficult to digest at the initial stage, but when you start digging more into this, you will understand definitely. That's it for this session. In the next session, we will see the actual implementation of this AIDL. So that will be more interesting part. Okay. So until that, please go through this AIDL concept more so that you'll get more idea on that, and it will be easier to implement when you are implementing the program 8. Please share this video with your families and friends, and ask them to subscribe if anybody want these programming things, and like this video. If you have any queries, please put it in a comment box below, and that's it guys. Thank you all. Bye bye.